Hi, everyone. My name is Tara Bailey, and I'm the founder of I Vote Madison. Since I'm unable to attend tonight's meeting, I've opted to record my comment for you all to hear. I emailed the following public comment to our council members. Good evening, council. You will be hearing an update from the Tiger team at the work session following the council meeting. The update will likely include recommendations on where to live stream meetings and how long those meetings should be made available to the public. Back in January of this year, the decision was made to continue live streaming council meetings to YouTube and make the recordings available to residents for 2 weeks. This was a big step in the right direction. Along with this, I Vote Madison has been live streaming meetings to Facebook and keeping recordings indefinitely. Since the beginning of the year, we've seen over 24,000 views of public meetings and have gotten a lot of positive feedback from the community. November 17th marked 1 year since I Vote Madison reached out to the council requesting that meetings be recorded. It's time we do the next right thing by keeping these recordings available for a minimum of 4 years. Before these matters are discussed, we would like to present a petition that was signed by 281 people asking council to do the following. Live stream public meetings to all available social media channels. Record and archive meetings indefinitely, and offer virtual public comments. Comments from our survey included the following. One resident said, the City of Madison's meeting minutes are more like an outline of what happens in the meeting, and no questions from the public are included. If you can't show up in person or catch the YouTube video before it disappears, you really can't find out what happens in the meetings. Please keep these meeting recordings available indefinitely. We need to know what is going on in our city. Another resident said, this should have been done earlier without the citizens having to petition for it. We have paid for it. Now do your job and complete the process. Transparency, please. It's better for the public and for the council to have a record of exactly what was said versus relying on meeting minutes that are not meant to capture every detail. It's no secret that everyone carries a bit of bias, so creating an atmosphere where we rely on the facts versus hearsay is better for everyone. We live in a time when residents are constantly pulled in many directions. Whether they're traveling for work or play, getting sick, or overcommitted in general, people can't always physically attend community meetings. I recently learned of a powerful streaming tool called Boxcast that is being used by many local governments. I've included information on this tool in the email to council. Boxcast easily lets cities stream to their website, YouTube, Facebook Live, Periscope, and more all at the same time. Utilizing multiple streaming channels allows for more people to view the meetings. In the municipality's Functional Analysis and Records Disposition Authority Manual, it states in section 1.04, recordings of meetings, audio or video recordings provide a verbatim account of debate and public input at meetings of the municipal council and municipal boards, commissions, or similar bodies. They are normally used only as an aid in preparation of the minutes. Disposition, temporary record. Retain until minutes are approved. But in speaking with the Alabama Department of Archives, I learned this language hasn't been updated in a very long time and dates back to when city clerks would use cassette tape recorders to record meetings. In the 2021 edition of Managing Local Records in Alabama, put out by the Alabama Department of Archives and History, it states on page 7 that RDAs, Records Disposition Authority, indicate when temporary records are eligible for destruction. However, local governments may keep records for longer than specified. So far, we've found 44 cities in Alabama have made the decision to do what is best for citizens by keeping recordings of their meetings for much longer than 2 weeks. Birmingham has recordings dating back to 2008. If we look closer, we will see that out of the top 30 most populated cities, 22 of them have been streaming, recording, and archiving their meetings. Madison is now the 10th largest city in our state and has been called the digital capital of Alabama. One would expect that a city like Madison would embrace technology to provide greater transparency and increase civic engagement. Whenever public policy is decided, the public should easily be able to access live streams, view video recordings indefinitely, and offer comments virtually. Let us start 2022 by embracing this change and setting a positive example for other cities who have yet to take this step. Please reach out to iVote Madison if you're interested in learning more about local government or how you can make a difference in your community. You can reach us by email at ivotemadison@gmail.com or call us at 205-314-9356. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at iVote Madison. Thank you.
Call the Madison City Council November 22nd meeting to order. With that, I ask Mr. Jason Coley if he'd please say the prayer for us.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, God, we come to you tonight just so grateful for this opportunity to assemble on a week that we are taught to remember to be thankful. God, I pray that it won't be just a day that we celebrate this week, but a lifestyle for us. And Lord, one thing we're thankful for is the ability to assemble tonight, have these government officials represent us in our city, and I pray that you'll please just give them wisdom as they do so. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get the roll call, please?
Mayor Finley.
Here.
Councilmember Robleski.
Here.
Councilmember Spears.
Here.
Councilmember Powell.
Here.
Council President Shaw.
Here.
Councilmember Bartlett.
Here.
Councilmember Denzine. Councilmember Seifert.
Are there any amendments to the printed agenda? If not, we'll move into approval of minutes from the November 8th meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Is there any discussion? Can I get the vote, please?
Councilmember Powell.
Aye.
Councilmember Robleski.
Aye.
Council President Shaw.
Aye.
Councilmember Spears.
Aye.
Councilmember Bartlett.
Aye.
Councilmember Denzine.
Aye.
Councilmember Seifert.
And motion passes. Moving to presentation of awards, and we'll start with Kathy Wells with the Crisis Center of North Alabama.
Thank you. I'm Janet Gabel with Crisis Services. I'm their executive director, and I want to thank you for allowing me to come out and personally thank you for supporting Crisis Services again this year. Our mission is to respond to individuals and families in crisis, and that is what we do. CSNA's Crisis Line, Domestic Violence Shelter, Forensic Nurse Examiner Program, and 211 Information Referral Line have continued to operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have continued to provide these services free of charge to the residents of Madison, as well as to the communities that we serve. At the request of the school, CSNA also provides suicide prevention to students, faculty, and staff in the city of Madison in order for the schools to meet the Jason Flat Act requirements. We continue to work closely with Madison's first responders, and I've had the opportunity to meet with Chief Gandy, and I truly appreciate his support in allowing CSNA to provide training to his officers regarding domestic violence and sexual assault. Many of our programs are funded through grants that require a 20% match. Funding from the city of Madison allows us to meet some of that match requirements. So once again, thank you for supporting CSNA and the residents that we serve.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for all you do. Thank you.
Next, we have the Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Good evening, Mayor Finley and council members. I'm Chris McBride, board chair of the Huntsville-Madison County Convention and Visitors Bureau, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about the CVB. The CVB is the agency that promotes our communities to visitors as a destination and meeting site. Our mission is to maximize the economic impact of travelers of all types to this community. And we have a staff of 15 full-time employees and over 30 part-time employees who work diligently to bring visitors to this community. Well, it's exciting to see the growth of our local hospitality industry and the resilience of the existing businesses through all the recent challenges. So as you know, a number of new hotels have recently opened, and existing developments like Town Madison continue to expand. And we were thrilled to see the return of AA baseball to the community with the extremely successful inaugural season of the Trash Pandas at Toyota Field. The CVB hosted a special event for meeting planners during one of the ball games, and it was a real hit. As you know, there's no better way to sell a venue than to actually be there and experience it firsthand. Events held at Toyota Field received significant page views on our website, and Toyota Field itself received over 2,100 page views since May. And there have already been more than 1,100 page views for the Rocket City's Christmas Spectacular, and it's not even Thanksgiving yet. So our most popular page, with over 40,000 views, covers new and coming soon restaurants to Madison. And we featured Madison consistently on social media, and here are a few highlights of that. In May, we highlighted Toyota Field during Attractions Week, gave updates on various Madison developments, and promoted the Madison Farmers Market. We brought in numerous bloggers who all attended Trash Pandas games and then shared their experiences on their social media websites, far-reaching then. In June, new and coming soon information featuring Town Madison and Madison restaurants was shared on social media, as well as dog nights at Toyota Field and tips for Trash Pandas games. We brought bloggers again in July to attend Trash Pandas games, and the Trains on Main scavenger hunt was highlighted along with the fireworks at Toyota Field. Madison restaurants were featured again in August in an All Things Madison feature for Restaurant Week, which included Old Black Bear, Tom Brown's Restaurant, Taziki's, and the Dessert Fork. And the Beer and Wine Festival at Toyota Field was shared in September, with numerous reminders, again, to see the Trash Pandas in their inaugural season. Information on trails and greenways, including Rainbow Mountain and Bradford Creek, were also shared. The Railyard Barbecue and Music Festival, as well as a story on how our two award-winning Madison high schools got their names, was highlighted in October. And this month, we met with Bailey Erickson, and the new Walk Historic Madison app was promoted, and holidays, activities, and events are being shared. The CVB constantly promotes events and activities as our calendar of events, as well as directly to meeting and conference planners, group tour leaders and organizers, leisure travelers, and travel media from across the country and the world. So from the new Madison restaurants to the events you'll have in your new Home Place Park, we look forward to showcasing things to do in Madison. So I'm happy now to ask Judy Ryals, President and CEO of the CVB, to address the efforts within the various departments.
Thank you, Chris. She's a great chairman, I tell you what. I'm really encouraged by the travel and hospitality industry coming back strong. We had some challenges these past years, but we really are coming back strong. Many hotels are seeing occupancy of back to the 2019 levels and average daily rates to the pre-pandemic rates. Alabama has fared much better than most states. We're in the top 5 of the least impacted states in the nation from the hospitality industry. Our 3 departments promote Madison in printed materials on our website, through social media platforms, and at trade shows and consumer shows throughout the country. Our convention department works with conferences, meetings, and trade shows, reunions, and sporting events in our community. It's a great team effort in sales and servicing to make sure that those planners have a great stay while they are here. They travel to trade shows throughout the country to invite additional people into our area. Conferences like AUSA and numerous other groups use the hotels here in Madison, even if they're hosting their meetings at the Von Braun Center in the downtown Huntsville area. We currently have leads out to some groups such as the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, the Gold Wing Road Riders, which I think that most everybody, if you were here several years ago, got to enjoy seeing that, and the world's toughest mutter competition. Mutter is hard for me to say, but it's a competition where people like to get dirty and go through a competition area. Joel Lamp is our newest employee, convention sales manager, who recruits sports tourism, and is currently working with the Trash Pandas to bring 2 college football games here to Toyota Field in 2022. We're also working very closely with your Parks and Recreation and enjoy that relationship. Our tourism department focuses on group tours and leisure travel and operates our 2 visitor centers, the one in the downtown area as well as the one at the airport. And we really enjoy being able to have information out at the airport for so many of our visitors that are flying in. And they are staffed by our helpful information assistants to be sure that everyone gets all of the information that they're needing. We delivered the collateral materials to Madison, and we deliver those to the hotels because we want the people that are staying within the hotels to have plenty of information about the area, so maybe they will extend their stay another night or 2, because we really do have so much to offer. The marketing department works with our other departments to provide the design and print and post of information included in the collateral pieces, as well as our website. The most recent addition to the CVB staff is a graphic designer, and she is really saving us lots of money and time and effort by not having to use quite so many people within the community, and we can say, this is the top priority, or either this is, rather than we'll get that to you in 2 or 3 weeks. So that's really been a real blessing. Marketing also works with print, social, and broadcast media representatives so that they can inform their readers, their followers, and viewers of the wealth of information and activities and events that are happening here. You're included in numerous campaigns such as Restaurant Week, History Month, and the I Heart campaign. We will be hosting the Southern Travelers Explorer Conference in February, and that will bring in 35 planners, or not planners, but media representatives, so that we'll get additional information out more or less in a free state rather than having to pay for any additional advertising. The brochure rack in your lobby is going to be updated with some new photographs, so coming soon. And we also have a new exhibit that's going to be, or a brochure rack that's going to be in the service center for the Madison County, and that too we will be giving out information about Madison. We're excited to see the Singing River Trail moving forward in all of North Alabama and providing greenways in cities like yours and ours, as well as the rural portions of Alabama. Madison is certainly a growing part of our hospitality industry and now has 20% of the hotel rooms in Madison, the county of Madison, right here in your city. Projects like the Singing River Trail will add to the quality of life, and when combined with favorable cost of living and impressive rankings of your public education, it aids in recruiting new families to our communities, and we are needing additional workforce, so that too will be tied nicely together. We appreciate your increase in our appropriation, and we will put it to good use. And want to just say that I'm very proud to represent the City of Madison, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
No, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move into public comments, and we have several people that have signed up. So we'll start with Mr. Dave Smith. He wanted to talk about the Madison City Board of Education. And you have 3 minutes, sir, so please go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor Finley and City Council members. My name is Dave Smith, Madison City resident. Thank you to our first responders here tonight. We genuinely appreciate your service to our community. I speak tonight to raise awareness in the City Council of a very concerning downward trajectory in the leadership of Madison City Schools. MCS gained nationwide prominence under the excellent leadership of Robbie Parker, and I'm sorry to report that this reputation is rapidly declining since its departure 2 years ago. The current Board of Education has developed a very strained relationship with Madison City parents, despite our patriotic and civil active participation at BOE meetings.
We strongly disagree with their leadership direction. However, we conduct ourselves respectfully and constitutionally at those meetings, as I'm absolutely confident we will here tonight. The MCS masking policy for elementary and middle school students has been and continues to be absurd. 2 weeks ago, 0.03% of our MCS student population tested positive for COVID. That is, 99.97% did not. Yet the BOE continued the mask mandate, continued shaming, punishing, and sending non-compliant kids home. Last week, 1 student and 0 faculty in our unmasked high schools tested positive, while 10 students and faculty in our masked lower schools did. Masking is not working, and it hasn't been working for a long time. Limestone County schools, Madison County schools, and the state of Alabama have acknowledged this reality weeks and months ago now to no ill effect. The MCS BOE has told us parents directly that masking is, quote, not a freedom issue. After the treatment one MCS mom received in last week's meeting, she respectfully approached a member of the board after the meeting with her middle school son at her side. She was laughed at and told that it's a privilege for her to speak at these meetings, not a right. We parents are incredulous that our supposed education leaders show that fundamental level of ignorance regarding the American system of government. On COVID matters, the BOE has consistently hidden its total lack of medical qualifications behind, quote, safety of the kids' heartstrings, all while there's never been a credible threat to the 5 to 18-year-old demographic at any time since COVID began. Madison City is full of brilliant people and wonderful families. 2 years ago, our schools were a huge selling point and draw for our city. Today, our BOE leadership is unserious about that amazing resource of families who call Madison City home. The pressure of poor leadership on our teachers, administrators, and families has already started taking its toll. In this era of obnoxious school board overreach across America, we parents in Madison City demand much, much better here at home. We don't need yet another mini tyrant in our lives. Instead, we demand first-class educational leadership for our kids and for the future of Madison City. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Next, we have Ashley Dennis.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the City Council. I'm Ashley Dennis, and I thank you for your service to our community and for allowing me a few moments of your time. For months, a large group of concerned parents have pleaded with the school board to make our schools mask optional. With no mandate in the city or the state, the call to mask our most vulnerable population for the health and safety of the community with no scientific, ethical, or legal basis to do so is abusive. We have been completely dismissed by the school board. At every meeting, we provided evidence, medical professionals, and many concerned parents and grandparents shedding light on the detriments of harmful effects of masking. We have emailed, provided documentation, and our concerns were never once placed on the agenda for discussion. Our school board has shown us on several occasions that they lack competence when it comes to the legality surrounding masking and their roles and responsibilities within their position and their willingness to be unbiased in the decision making. We moms also feel underrepresented on the board among 4 men and only 1 woman. In 2005, the Alabama Supreme Court recognized that parents have God-given inalienable rights over their children, so therefore the government must respect them. This past Thursday night at the school board meeting, the board president decided to use an intimidation tactic to keep us parents from continuing to address concerns with the implemented masking matrix. The president informed the admin to state our names, addresses, and the schools our children attended before we spoke. This move not only highlighted the tyranny sweeping through our nation, but threatened our rights as parents, our First Amendment right, and our civic duty to ensure liberty for ourselves and our children. They have completely overstepped their authority, and it's time for you to step in. I've heard it said by members of this council that you do not have oversight when it comes to the school board. If not you, then who? You appointed the members of this school board, and they must be answerable to someone. We weren't able to elect our school board, but we were able to elect you to represent us and be our collective voices and representatives for the city. It is time to stop the passing of the buck and to take a stand. Silence in the face of evil is evil in itself. Our schools are losing teachers and administrators left and right. Parents are pulling their kids, and it's all due to the failure of our schools to stand for what is right. We moved to Madison 9 years ago from Illinois because we wanted our children to be raised in a community that reflected our values and morals. This nation was founded on Judeo-Christian values, morals, and ethics we inherited from our forefathers and are embodied in our Constitution, in our legal system, and in our laws. How are you being good stewards of this inheritance passed to you? Because every day in our city schools, we're looking more and more like the place we fled. If you are not willing to stand for the good and call out the evil, then we have lost everything. Are you willing to be good stewards of your inheritance, of your post? Our votes will continue to follow those who stand up for our children and our God-given freedoms. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Next is Ms. Sayla Pele.
Let me see. Sarah Parker,
Can't read.
first thing to go.
No doubt. No, probably not the first.
Could be my handwriting, you never know. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. My name is Sarah Parker. Thank you for having us here. On Thursday, November 18th, parents attended the Madison City School Board's public hearing to voice objections to the board's face mask mandate. When time came for public comments, Board President Tim Holtkamp ordered that each speaker's name, address, and school affiliations be publicly disclosed and recorded. President Holtkamp order was clearly intended to intimidate parents who speak out publicly against the board policies. Holtkamp's announcement was disconcerting in light of the recent widely publicized letter sent to President Joe Biden from the National Association of School Boards suggesting that parents who oppose face mask mandates should be treated as terrorists. In emails obtained by Parents Defending Education, the Alabama Association of School Boards Executive Director Sally Smith expressed objection to NASB recommendations, suggesting that the National Association was acting as a shill for the Biden administration. She also stated that the AASB believes that the authors and architects of the NASB Biden plan should be held accountable. Parents have a right to participate in the development of policies and to speak out against policies that affect their children. Forcing parents who object to board policies to disclose personally identifying information places a chill on free speech. The practice of intimidating parents constitutes an unlawful violation of civil rights. Disclosure requirements can create an unnecessary risk of chilling and violation of the First Amendment. In First Amendment cases, the injury in fact element is commonly satisfied by a sufficient showing of self-censorship, which occurs when a claimant is chilled from exercising his or her right to free expression. Surveillance-driven conformity threatens a free democratic society. If there is any fixed star in our constitutional constellation, it is that no official, high or petty, can prescribe what shall be orthodox in politics, nationalism, religion, or other matters of opinion. Forcing parents to disclose personal information as a condition of participating in public hearings serves no purpose other than to chill free speech through intimidation. President Holtkamp's order was clearly intended to intimidate parents who object to board face mask policy. This is a clear violation of the constitutional First Amendment protections. The order smacks of the same kind of intimidation tactic that was intended by the NASB in its letter to President Biden, which was denounced by the Alabama Association of School Boards. And now, Madison City School Board President Tim Holtkamp should be held accountable. We request that all personally identifying information associated with all parents and staff who have spoken out against the face mask policy be deleted or redacted from all meeting records or transcripts in the city's possession. Be gone. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Next is Mr. Mendoza.
Good evening. How are you guys? Mayor Finley and City Council, thank you for having me here. Thank you for your time allowing me to speak. This is my first time speaking in front of a City Council. I never thought in my wildest dreams I would have to do this. But here I am making sure that the Madison City School and the district Board of Education of Nichols are making the right decisions that directly affect my 3 children and some parents that attend this great school district of ours. Here are my 5 points that have me concerned regarding the current leadership and the school district. The numbers don't make sense right now. Under decision-making this week, we have 3 students that are positive cases in Heritage Elementary School, which is where my kids go, 2 of them. 7 students in Liberty Middle. These schools are my kids currently attend to. The stories keep changing every time. Last week, the Board of Education, as some people have said, meeting for the school district, they start asking I spoke at and in the past, and it was never brought up. This is an intimidation tactic, which I don't agree with. The correct protocols have not been followed, which is a lack of leadership from the Board of Education and Mr. Ed Nichols. Last time I spoke at the Board of Education meeting, I brought up the fact that when they made the decision on the masks are optionals, my kids were separated, basically segregated, because we asked them not to wear masks. They were basically put aside, and all I saw from the Board of Education as I was speaking with you guys, I saw smirks. Some of the Board of Directors and Board of Education never received an apology for doing that to my kids, and the superintendent. Before speaking in front of the Board of Education, I sent a video email, which I use the technology for my business. It tracks the activity and how many people watch the video, how many times they see it, and how long they've seen that video. This was sent to the superintendent and Board of Education, but surprisingly, only the Board of Education and one person from the Board of Education and Ed Nichols saw it 100%. What does that mean to me and the people? That they don't care what their constituents think and what their opinions are. This technology puts this video on top of all the emails. They don't care. They didn't open it. My last point, when the mask mandate was overturned, the media said that Mr. Nichols made his decision way too soon without the Board of Education consent and permission to make that decision. I sent that email. I asked the actual attorney for the bylaws where it says that he has to have that permission. I never received anything. I asked him in person. He said it was a client privilege attorney in a situation. So in conclusion, I chose to live in Madison a year ago due to the great school district that has been built even by some of you city council members. I am deeply disappointed by the current Board of Education and superintendent. Their leadership lacks of school district and most of all their decision-making affecting our kids. And I'm not here to make trouble. I just want to make sure that the right things are happening for our schools and our kids and making the right decisions with the right leadership. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Ms. Beebe?
Just a little bit. If I look funny, I had my eyes dilated this afternoon, and you all are just fuzzy. Everybody's fuzzy. Sorry about that. I've been to a couple of these education meetings, and of course, I don't have any children there or any grandchildren, and there are a lot more people talking there than here. I guess they probably could come here. I don't know. But anyway, I'm here talking about the agenda tonight. You have 2 things on the agenda where you might approve some apartments, 204 apartments and 284 apartments. I would just like for you to think about this and think about the traffic that those apartments are going to do to this city and the safety of the citizens that are here now. My children fuss every time they have to come out to see me because of the traffic they have to go through. They said, "Mother, this is not the city that I grew up in." It's just sad to see. I just hope you will look at that. One of them is 28 acres, the other one is 16 acres, which is a lot more than what normal, I guess. You all look at the site plans now rather than the planning board, but I hope you would take a good look at those and think of the traffic that it's going to cause in this city, because the traffic here is atrocious. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Beebe. Ms. Shima Rizzo?
for my first time speaking. I'm Shima Rizzo. I'm a concerned parent in Madison City Schools. And just simply coming here to ask you to assist in helping speak up, have your voices heard, and helping so that the Board of Education, there is obvious that they're yielding to a certain group of parents. And I am for your choice to wear a mask, your choice to get a vaccine, okay? It's your health, it's your body, it's your choice. So just for this audience, so everyone knows that in Madison City, our children and our teachers are forced to wear a mask. They have no choice. And I'm just here to bring awareness to that at the city councils because it's my first time speaking. And then also, just to let you know that basically what Dave and Sarah spoke and a few of the other members here, just in Mr. Holtcamp's actions. Have 20 years experience. I manage million-dollar programs, multi-million-dollar programs. And I'm pretty exposed to leadership, even at a commanding general level, okay? And his actions were very intimidating, and they were unlawful. He broke the law. There's Supreme Court cases. We're actually working with people who are helping us identify these types of things because they see the injustice that's happening right here in Madison City with our kids. So anyway, just coming here to ask you to help us with that and help hold him accountable, and also help in the discrimination of this. It's obvious that the matrix that was implemented, high school right now is unmasked. The elementary children continue to be masked because they're in a low, they group them in a low positivity group range. I think it goes up to 4.9, something like that. But just know that they are in that group because, quote, the BOE knows that the vaccination is going to be readily available in January. So in January, when the vaccination is available and these parents can vaccinate their children if they so choose, then they get elevated to a new group, right? So that means that they have a more possibility of staying out of the mask. So that's obvious discrimination. It's discriminatory, and they continue to yield to this group since day one. We all know at open house we were unmasked. We could easily spot people who wore masks if they choose to do so. No one had a problem with that. And then that night on open house, he sent out a text and said, hey, we're going to go mask preferred. So it's been pretty obvious that this has been a political-driven agenda, and there's some bias there, and we're just coming to respectfully ask you to help stop the control that's happening in our schools. I'm a growing group of several hundred people, and I'm just coming here for the first time to respectfully ask that we don't need you to be quiet. You elect our board. We need you to hold them accountable. Thank you so much. And I'm not here to cause any trouble either.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. George Berry.
I thank her for speaking because I'm not the oldest one here. I don't know how many were here in 1993 when in this room we set up booths because we voted in the city of Madison. We campaigned in the city of Madison to raise our taxes. We campaigned to raise our taxes because we wanted to separate from Madison County. We wanted to start our own school system because we wanted better. And I think we got that. I've raised 3 daughters through our school system. Graduated Auburn, Alabama, and Vanderbilt. Very proud of my school system as I raised our kids. But the things that are happening today are really concerning because I'll now be raising grandkids in the Madison City school system. Now, Madison City is a marvelous place to live. I love it because people did listen to us. We were able to talk to each other. We communicated well. And the things that we did when we grew this city, I'm seeing going away. Now, when we started the school system, we understand and we agreed that we would have a school board that was appointed. Tom Butler and I have talked about this over and over, and so we had to start early, so we had an appointed school board. I think it's time, because what we're seeing today, that we get rid of that and we have elected school boards. And I wish that this council would go with us, because I understand you have to go to the state legislature to see that change. And we urge here that we, in Madison City, go to an elected school board so that the school board would listen to us. Because what you're hearing here is that they're not. In April, I spoke twice, once in April and once in May, about the teaching of racism of CRT. And they didn't want to change, nothing wanted to happen, but we had to go to the state school board, and Wayne Reynolds was able to pass resolutions that eventually were able to come back to Madison and hopefully stop that. So we don't need that in Madison. That's not Madison. But right now, it looks as though we need to go to an elected school board. And you're the ones who appoint the school board today, and that's what we were told. The only place we can go is to the city council. And so that's why we're here. But you have a lot of parents that are really upset. And there are two key issues that have brought this to the forefront. So I urge that you would listen and that you would help us have our voice at our Madison City Schools. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. With that, we'll close public comment. Moving to consent agenda and finance committee report.
Okay, I've got that. Just to let everyone know, we did cancel our finance committee meeting this evening. We are going to recommend moving toward a monthly finance committee meeting, and we're going to talk about that and other meeting and agenda topics at our work session this evening. But I wanted to let you know we're still having finance committee meetings. They will be publicly noticed and available for the public. However, our finance committee members did review from finance the reports that we received on the periodic bills, and so I present to you and move for approval of the consent agenda items.
Second.
Motion is second. Is there any discussion? If not, can I get the vote, please?
Councilmember Bartlett,
Aye.
Councilmember Spears,
Aye.
Council President Shaw,
Aye.
Councilmember Robleski,
Aye.
Councilmember Powell,
Aye.
Councilmember Denzine, Councilmember Seifert.
Motion passes.
And I just want to mention a thank you for the donations that you will see under the consent agenda item. We received a donation from the Madison County Legislative Delegation to support Kids Kingdom, a donation from Torch for our Christmas movie, and there was a donation for Parks and Rec from Green Print. So I wanted to commend those.
Very good. We'll move into presentation of reports, and we'll start with the mayor.
Okay, and before I get to the couple of things that are on the agenda, I just want to thank everybody tonight for coming. I've got everybody's name down only because I want to make sure as we then pass along the information to the superintendent and the school board that you guys were here. There was a group that came to see me about 2 weeks ago. The two things that they asked me to follow up on, I did, which one of them was even documenting how decisions are being made in more detail, which they did. But with that said, we want them to know you came, and we'll talk about that and let them know. I've got the 4 different things or 5 different things that most of you guys were talking about. So I'll move into this, and then I'll finish on that also. So let me start with what's number 1 on my agenda was resolution number 2021-338-R, approving the annual appropriation agreement with Crisis Services of North Alabama for the FY22 amount of $10,000 out of the general fund.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion is second. Is there any discussion? Can I get the vote, please?
Councilmember Robleski,
Aye.
Councilmember Spears,
Aye.
Council President Shaw,
Aye.
Councilmember Powell,
Aye.
Councilmember Bartlett,
Aye.
Councilmember Denzine, Councilmember Seifert.
Motion passes.
All right, and then follow up with also ask for council approval of resolution number 2021-334-R, approving the annual appropriation agreement with the Convention and Visitors Bureau for FY22 in the amount of $30,000 to be paid from the general operating account.
Move to approve.
Second. Motion is second. Any discussion? Can I get the vote, please?
Councilmember Robleski,
Aye.
Councilmember Powell,
Aye.
Council President Shaw,
Aye.
Councilmember Spears,
Aye.
Councilmember Bartlett,
Aye.
Councilmember Denzine, Councilmember Seifert.
Motion passes.
All right, and thanks to both those groups for coming and presenting, especially, you guys will appreciate what you do. I think we got a great asset in Toyota Field, and I know you continue to push information out for us. And I agree with you, the hotels, I think folks, when it comes to percentage in the city of Madison versus the county, and we're adding even more in town Madison right now and other places, so that's great. I want to end on a couple things. One, obviously what happened up in Wisconsin with the parade is just incredibly sad. I can't, and I thought, as Mr. Berry talked about, just who Madison is and the core of who Madison is, and so much of who we are is the parades that happen on Christmas and the homecomings. And so I feel for that community, and just wanted to acknowledge that. Also, can't tell you how much how appreciative I am of both chiefs that we have, our fire and police chief, Chief Bailey, Chief Gandy, both seeing me today, talking to me about safety and about that very thing, you know, talking about not only that situation, but also, you know, talking about how we make our parades as safe as we can. And one of the decisions that we've made is to move the Christmas parade just here on Hughes Road. And it was a safety reason, you know, for a couple different factors. One, with the number of trains that come through there. Secondly, all the construction that's going south of historic downtown Madison. And you know, so some of those factors that came in, we're trying to take the risk and reward of having those things that are critical to our city, and appreciate those guys, and we sleep well every night with them. And so with that said, there's still so much going on in historic downtown Madison, and had a chance today working with Samantha. We have a new executive director at our Madison Chamber, Michelle Epling, and we were able to talk about a couple of things that are happening this week over Thanksgiving, one of which is Shop Small Business Saturday. So many small businesses in the historic downtown area that we'd love for you guys to go see. Also, the Trash Pandas have now started over at Toyota Field. The Christmas lights again, absolutely something that is great for a group to come by on a cold night like this. Go by, see the lights. It's really a neat thing. It's a different show. There's 5 different shows that will rotate over the next 5 years that they'll be bringing. And so I'll end by saying that, you know, our community is one that now, not only, you know, when we talk about planting our roots, which is one of the things that's on that, you know, we're continuing to do that, and we have second and third, now fourth generations, and then folks moving here to follow their kids and their grandkids. And our schools are one of our highest assets. Location, close to the airport, everything we have, it's location in our schools. And so we're listening to you guys, and this is a big decision, but we will pass along what you come to hear and pass that on to them and let them know of your concern, and I appreciate everybody coming. And with that said, that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. And we'll start with District Number 1.
Yes, sir. And just to follow up with Mayor, the Christmas parade will be December 11th.
Correct.
At 5:30.
5:30.
And line up at Plaza.
Yes, yes, ma'am. So thank you for following up on that. Lining up at Plaza, it'll finish here, basically at the Skate Center, which allows us to miss the railroad tracks, miss all the stuff that's going on down there. The next night, and we'll talk about that next council meeting, they're having a big celebration in historic downtown Madison. And so we want to make sure that we can enjoy the best of both worlds. Yep.
Very good, good deal. And wanted to also announce that the library will be giving out hot chocolate at the library, which is right there on Plaza Boulevard as well. So we'd hope to have a nice crisp night like this for everyone to come out and enjoy the parade. In the last couple of weeks, I had a couple of events. I had about 25 Cub Scouts here this past week, and had Chief Gandy and Chief Bailey from our fire department and police department come out and speak with them and talk about the importance of safety, and want to thank both of those gentlemen for coming out to speak to the young men and girls. There were girls in the Cub Scout troop as well. And then I also had the opportunity to attend the HOA meeting for Chapel Hill, and I would encourage anyone who lives in an HOA, when it comes time for you to have your annual meeting, invite us to come. We brought, Chief Gandy was there. He was able to talk about safety in the neighborhood, about a wonderful program that our police department has, where we will come to your home or your business. Well, not we. The experts will come to your home or your business and do an evaluation for you. And you look at your house every day and you may not see, hey, that bush really needs to be trimmed, or, you know, there's a problem over here. So I would encourage you to invite us to come and interact and talk one-on-one and hear what your concerns are directly. And just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Be safe if you're traveling, and that's all I have.
Thank you. And District Number 2.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you to everybody who came and spoke tonight. We really do listen to your comments. Just to be clear about a few things, according to the state law and the bylaws of our Board of Education, the Board of Education does not report to the City Council. We do appoint them, and we can note your concerns and take those into consideration the next time we make an appointment, which will be in the spring of next year. What I would encourage you to do is, when you find somebody that you think would be a good candidate for Board of Education, encourage them to apply. We used to get many, many applications for school board, and the numbers have dwindled over the years. And so if you really feel like there's something that you can do to add and to help make the school system better, I would encourage you to step up and apply yourself, or encourage somebody that you know who would be a good candidate to apply. Also, I wanted to mention that on December the 2nd, there will be a wassail festival downtown, and there will be various merchants that are serving wassail. I do not have the time. I'm not sure. Paul, do you know what time it's supposed to be downtown?
No, but I thought you said waffles. I'm sorry.
No.
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
Wassail.
I know.
I understand it is like at 6. Mary Beth said 6. Thank you, Mary Beth. At 6 p.m. downtown, and looking forward. There'll also be the tree lighting, I think, is that night too. So that'll be another festive thing we can do downtown.
Absolutely.
So, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
District number 3.
New business.
District number 5.
Well, first, thank you, Mayor, for highlighting local shop small this Saturday. And I don't want to scoop you, Greg, but I think this is my last council meeting where I'm going to be highlighting a shop local spotlight, because I'm passing the reins to Councilwoman Robleski, who's going to take over as liaison to the chamber. But for my last shop local spotlight, I'm going to spotlight Terra May. And Terra May is a local spa. Let me tell you, if you give anyone you know a gift certificate to Terra May, they are going to be so happy. But they also have some nice gifts and things for you to consider, and that's on Madison Boulevard. I know we have teacher gifts to be thinking about, and also maybe to your wife, and hint, hint. I know my husband doesn't watch these meetings, but I just wanted to encourage you to stop by Terra May. I wasn't planning on commenting on this, but given the comments that came in, I do want to thank all of you who took the time. This is Thanksgiving week, and so we know how important it must be to you for you to come take your time to speak at public comments. And a lot of you said you'd never done it before, and I have to tell you, we do welcome public comments, and it helps us understand the temperature of the community and the environment. And Ms. Parker, you actually cited one of my favorite Supreme Court justices. That was Justice Jackson, who had that famous quote, if there is any fixed star in the constitutional constellation. And that particular case was West Virginia Board of Education versus Barnett. And in that case, I had a First Amendment seminar when I was in law school, and in that case, there was a compulsory flag salute, and that was being mandated by state law, and that was struck down under the First Amendment. And so, absolutely, public officials can't tell you what to believe, and you always have the moment to come at public comments, whether it's here or at the Board of Education. I also want to clarify something, because I'm a former school board president, and I just want to share with you just this little tidbit of information. There were times when I presided over really large rezoning hearings where we had a lot of parents come, and I actually asked parents to let me know what school their kids attended, because it helped us understand where the concerns were in terms of who was having to move from one school to another. So there was precedent for that. I remember asking for that because it helped us in terms of understanding what the concerns were. So I wanted you to know that is not something that had never been done before, and the context in which I had actually asked for that information for a hearing. So I just wanted to share that. And I think that's all I have. Thank you.
All right. And district number 6.
Malfunctioning, I don't know. It's stuck on the area. I know I'm sounding like I'm repeating, but I am just, it really touches my heart that y'all came and talked to us tonight about something that's so important to your heart. The children and then their school system. And yeah, I agree, those that came and spoke and they never spoke before, it takes courage. And I commend you for doing that. I commend you for standing up for what you feel is right. I've been to several of the school board meetings. I've listened to all of the parents, and I appreciate all of it. Because everybody has a different size and a different perspective, but if we listen to each other, we can work on things together. I wear a mask because my husband has cancer, and his immune system's shot. Okay, so there really are reasons, for doing it, but we all need to work together and not overlook somebody else's feelings, because not everyone has that same issue that I do. But I really do appreciate you coming. I really do appreciate your heartfelt comments. So thank you. And I'm right there with Connie. Anybody that wants to run or put in their name for the school board, please do consider it. If your heart is so involved with this kind of topic, they can use you on the school board in every way. Anybody that cares so much about their child and their welfare, I think would make an excellent school board person. So really do consider that and share that thought with friends too. It wasn't a very busy 2 weeks for me on the city council. But one thing I did do was go to the Veterans Day Parade. And it was an honor and a privilege. It was delightful to see so many individuals waving the flag, showing up to honor the veterans. And to me, that was to honor those that have served and sacrificed is a very good thing. So that was an excellent thing to do the last 2 weeks. And in honor of Thanksgiving, I wish to express my gratitude to all the wonderful citizens of Madison. Y'all are the ones that create this wonderful place that we call our home. It's the citizens working together. It's the community. I appreciate all the city employees who work so hard to keep our wonderful city functioning efficiently and effectively. I'm grateful for all the officers and the staff of the police and fire department and how you serve us and protect us and always do your very best to keep us all safe. I appreciate with the changes for the parade. That was horrible to hear that news yesterday. And I'm glad that we are being proactive in looking after our citizens, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate all y'all do. I'm also grateful for those that do selflessly serve on the various boards and committees in our city. There are so many good boards that do so much, and they're not paid positions. Like the school board's not paid. They're just there working because it's something they believe in their heart, and I am grateful for them also. And I'm grateful for my fellow city council people. We've been working together for a year now. It's been a learning curve, but it's been an honor to work with them. I'm just grateful to be serving and to be a voice to the people who elected me, and I'm grateful for that. And there's so many that volunteer in so many ways to do so much for this city that make it the great place it is. And I do appreciate y'all. And so I encourage everyone to say thank you to a neighbor, to somebody that you live near, who you see working towards the betterment of our community. Give them a thank you at this time of year. I think it's important. And looking forward, we do have Christmas, and it's exciting to have the parade and the Christmas tree lighting and all those things that bring joy to the city. And I wish everyone a very, very happy New Year. That's kind of jumping forward, isn't it? We'll start with a happy Thanksgiving, a wonderful Christmas season. That'll bring us up to a new year, one that we can look forward with promise for new beginnings. And that's all I have for tonight.
Very good. Thank you. I just want to echo what they've said. We really do appreciate everybody coming out tonight and speaking. I think that's how things get done in the community, just being able to hear what everybody has to say, and we really do appreciate that. That's all the districts tonight. There's no board or committee appointments. There's a public hearing from Cameron.
Were you not going to appoint council?
The Revenue Department, we do have one public hearing this evening. We've got a request for a restaurant retail liquor license from Los Arcos 12 LLC, doing business as Los Arcos. They're located at 8694 Madison Boulevard, Suite F. They're going to be going in the location that was previously occupied by Villa Long Good Mexican Restaurant. The police department has signed off. Building and Fire has not yet had an opportunity to. So if the council wishes to consent to this license by the ABC board, we'd have the local license contingent on the department signing off.
We'll open the public hearing. Anybody like to address council and mayor? If not, we'll close public hearing and ask for a motion.
Move to approve pending the affirmation of the department still needed.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? If not, can I get the vote?
Councilmember Robleski?
Aye.
Councilmember Spears?
Aye.
Council President Shaw?
Aye.
Councilmember Powell?
Aye.
Councilmember Bartlett?
Aye.
Councilmember Denzine?
Aye.
Councilmember Seifert?
Motion passes. Thank you, Cameron. Next, department reports, and we'll start with Dustin and Building.
Good evening. What I've got is Resolution 2021-361R, and that's to award the bid for the HVAC maintenance program to Lee Company in the amount of $7,766 per month to be paid from the department budget.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Is there any discussion? Can I get the vote?
Councilmember Spears?
Aye.
Councilmember Powell?
Aye.
Council President Shaw?
Aye.
Councilmember Robleski?
Aye.
Councilmember Bartlett?
Aye.
Councilmember Denzine?
Aye.
Councilmember Seifert?
Motion passes. Thank you, Dustin. Next, we have engineering.
I have two items for your consideration tonight. The first one is resolution number 2021-362R. It's acceptance of Greenbrier Hills Phase 3 into the City of Madison Maintenance Program.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Is there any discussion?
They've passed all of the things and checked all the boxes and,
Yeah, they're done.
okay, good.
Can I get the vote, please?
Councilmember Powell?
Aye.
Councilmember Spears?
Aye.
Council President Shaw?
Aye.
Councilmember Robleski?
Aye.
Councilmember Bartlett?
Aye.
Councilmember Denzine?
Aye.
Councilmember Seifert?
Motion passes.
Item number 2 is resolution number 2021-349R. It's requesting approval for professional services agreement with Kimley Horn. It's in coordination with Huntsville in order for us to look at redoing the signal timing on US 72.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Is there any discussion? Can I get the vote, please?
Councilmember Powell?
Aye.
Councilmember Spears?
Aye.
Council President Shaw?
Aye.
Councilmember Robleski?
Aye.
Councilmember Bartlett?
Aye.
Councilmember Denzine?
Aye.
Councilmember Seifert?
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have planning. Mary Beth, you hiding in the back tonight.
All righty. We've got several items for you this evening. The first is Resolution 2021-305-R, and this is to approve the villas at Town Madison. It's a site plan proposed for 350 Lime Quarry Road. And you can see here on this aerial that it's just across the street from Hexagon, off of, at the intersection of Lime Quarry Road and Intergraph Way. The property is about 28 acres or so. This project actually got submitted into us this summer, and we've just been working with the applicant on getting the plans fine-tuned. The property is zoned UC, which is our urban center district, which we created for the Town Madison area. And residential and multifamily development are permitted uses within that zoning category. This is a site plan, a little bit hard to make out. I don't have a colored version, but it's 204 apartment units. You can see the unit mix on the slide. Only about 7% of the units have 3 bedrooms, and the rest are about evenly split between 2 and 1 bedroom units. From our past conversations about potential impacts to the school district, we've encouraged developers, if they're going forward with multifamily, to minimize the number of 3 bedroom units, and so that's what's occurred here. And even with the 2 bedroom units, oftentimes you might have one person who would have a 2 bedroom, but regardless, very few 3 bedroom units. The project includes open space with a clubhouse, fire pit, a pool, and then passive open space as well. There'll be 2 access points, one off of Intergraph and one off of Lime Quarry Road. This is a rendering of the elevations. When we approve site plans, we're not approving elevations. We're not asking you to approve the elevation, but we always ask the applicants for the elevations at this stage, just so we have a sense of what they're proposing, and it gives us an ability to take a look to see if it's going to meet our standards. And so this piece is just for your information. Again, I'm not asking you to approve this, but basically this is what's called a big house product type. So, and from the site plan you might be able to tell, but there's these large squares that represent the buildings, and so each building has between 6 and 8 units in it generally. So it's a 2-story product type. So it looks like the name, a big house. So it's like townhouses that are attached to each other, basically. We have a few contingencies, which are relatively minor. For the planning department, they need to submit a copy of the certified plat. This is kind of a standard contingency. And then there are 4 engineering contingencies related to cleanup of the plans. So we are recommending approval of the site plan. And just as a reminder, and I don't know if I have one other slide for you. This project, one of the reasons that we are supporting this project, other than the fact that we have to because it's allowed by code, is that the residential units here are going to support the commercial development that's coming in town Madison. You've all heard probably that commercial development likes rooftops, and that is very true, and we get asked that all the time, even for developments that are occurring in town Madison, the commercial projects in town Madison. So the residents who live in these units are definitely going to be able to contribute and support the businesses that are happening in town Madison, and we want to see more businesses in town Madison. And then these residents obviously can support businesses that are not in town Madison. The units, as I mentioned, have been designed to cater to singles, empty nesters, minimizing the impacts on the school district. The project does meet our zoning requirements, our zoning and other requirements. There are a few contingencies, but those are minor. And I do need to emphasize site plans are a non-discretionary item. So under state law, if a site plan meets code, we're bound to approve it, and we have 60 days in which to do that. We are recommending that you approve the resolution. And one final comment, Ms. Beebe made a comment about expressing concern about traffic. And so one of the things that's really convenient, I guess, about town Madison is that is separate from the rest of town Madison, or Madison proper, as I call it. So the residents that are living there are going to be able to jump on city interstate. They're not going to need to use, they can obviously, we want them to patronize other businesses within the city. They're going to use the post office and, that type of thing. But to the extent that they work on the Arsenal, or they work in CRP or Indicator or whatever, they're going to jump on the interstate. They're not going to be impacting Hughes and Sullivan, Triana, County Line Road. And so we would not expect an undue amount of traffic impact, especially in North Madison, unless they're wanting to go to a restaurant up on Highway 72, as a result of any of the development in town Madison. And there's also been traffic studies that have been done, and we updated our transportation master plan in 2018. It took into account development of town Madison. The units that are being proposed are still within the overall total number of units proposed for town Madison and that we analyzed. While I understand the concerns about traffic in general, and I think we're continuing to improve our roads, we actually think increased traffic is good, because that means people are out hopefully going and patronizing businesses. So traffic isn't a bad thing if you're a business. What you want to make sure we don't have is congested intersections. cars on the road is a good thing for, commercial development. So with that, site plans are not public hearings, but we do have the, applicant here and can answer any of your questions. Thanks.
Need a motion?
Yep.
Move to approve.
We got a motion, is there a second? No second?
So, again, I'm going to do a little history lesson for you, and that is that under the zoning ordinance, the Planning Commission normally takes action on site plans of anything over 10,000 square feet. That's something that the city put into the code. It's not in state law. The City Council, and that would have included an apartment project. And so the Planning Commission, which is experienced in looking at site plans, knows that when we bring them a site plan, we wouldn't bring it to them unless it's ready to be approved. And like I mentioned, this one came in the summer, and we've been working on this one for a little while. And so when we present a site plan, because it is not discretionary, means you need to, the city, whoever's the approving body, needs to approve it. The council decided it wanted to take action on apartment projects. And so that's why we're bringing this to you. All other site plans above 10,000 square feet continue to go to the Planning Commission. And I did not receive any calls from any of you after the agenda came out, so I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Would it also help before, and to get a second, to have Joey at least give an idea maybe of some of the other things that have come to Town Madison that in turn the council may not know about?
Yeah.
That are supported by having people there?
Yeah, that would be great.
Great.
If we can get a second, we can at least have a discussion.
Yeah, can we at least get a second, guys?
I don't mean you gotta vote for it, just because you seconded it. We're out.
I'm aware of parliamentary procedure.
Yes, ma'am. I don't think we can discuss it if we don't have a second.
No.
We can't discuss it.
Well, I don't know if this is going to help or not, but in terms of...
I don't think we can discuss.
You can.
If we don't have a second,
Because you're
we can't
classified as a small board under Robert's rules, you can discuss without a second.
We can?
Even though that's the typical
Okay,
practice.
I'm sorry. I didn't know we could do that.
Well, I thought that Mary Beth was bringing up something about why nobody had called when I don't get the plan until Friday, and I'm being asked to vote on it on Monday. If this had gone to the Planning Commission like normal, the Planning Commission would have a week to get to read site plans. And even though, I mean, I don't know if it, I have a page list of questions that I could ask during discussion. But it would be, I think, courteous to this council to get a little more notice. And since we have 60 days, I'd like the opportunity to ask you follow-up questions. But, you know, on a holiday weekend, when we get the agenda on Friday to vote on something on Monday, I haven't had enough time to do the follow-up. It took me all day to read the plans, the maps, and I've got some questions. But I would appreciate a little more time and consideration to be able to get the questions answered.
Duly noted, and we normally would get the report out sooner. In fact, the report was done a couple of days sooner. However, we were dealing with some last-minute changes on contingencies and coordinating with other departments. And so I thought the report was going to get out to you on Wednesday of last week, and it did not. And so I didn't, you know, my comment is intended that if there was any concern, you know, it would have been great to have gotten a heads up before tonight's meeting. But I do realize that you guys received the report a little bit late.
Is there any problem in pushing it till the next meeting?
Well, I guess I'll let the applicant answer that question. I think that, you know, we really would like to see Town Madison succeed. And we know, you know, as staff, we hear, and I expect that you all hear too, the importance of sending the positive message, right, about development out there. And so we get asked to move things forward as quickly as possible because I think the developer's wanting to send a message to potential commercial tenants, right, wanting them to sign on the dotted line. We
try to move things as quickly as possible, but we want to make sure that those plans are thorough before we bring them to you. You know, certainly you can continue it. I think it sends a message that's maybe not positive, given that it is a site plan, but that's certainly your prerogative, and yeah. And we were hoping to have had the work session last week to talk with you, and that didn't happen. It just, the timing of it was such that, yeah.
Are you aware of any pressing issues that would be a negative impact on this project if we delayed it for the next council meeting?
You know, I can't answer that because I don't know what the developers' agreements are, so I would leave that to Joey CC to answer that question.
And I think the developer's been asked, well, you know, he can't, I don't know if he can or not, I don't make those, but I think in this case, you know, again, part of, as you hear Mary Beth, the pushback in timing comes from, weren't able to have the work session, plus we've been pushing back on them to get this plan to where we want it to, so that's part of why it gets to this point, but there's a lot of different pieces that come into it.
And I think we're just at a disadvantage that it's the first time we've heard of the plan. That's all. I've never heard of the villas at Town Madison or the Roberts Apartments until Friday afternoon when I saw the agenda. And, I mean, I'll take responsibility. I did call Megan, and she was going to talk with you about what has to happen. And Megan, maybe you can address our concerns as well?
Sure, I'll just be glad to follow up on what Mary Beth said. It's true that it's not a discretionary item. The decision of what types of developments can go on the property is determined at the zoning ordinance stage, and so that's already been set in the UC zoning ordinance district that's applied to this property. The question at this point is, do all of the buildings as planned, does all the landscaping and the drainage, the parking lots, do they all meet the technical specifications? And if that's true and the applicant has checked all of the boxes, as they have in this case with a certain number of contingencies attached to it, then the council is obligated to approve it. You know, this is an administrative action, just like the acceptance into maintenance that you heard a few minutes ago from Michelle. And the question that you asked was, are the boxes all checked? Yes, council votes for it. It's the same scenario here.
And so it's safe to say that this property was zoned for apartments prior to this council and even the council before that in approximately 2014-ish. Like this may have even been before your time.
No, the UC zoning, I think this property changed over its zoning probably in 2017, and I'd have to go back and confirm that.
Okay.
I think we created the UC zoning to support the baseball stadium going in, and also to create basically horizontal mixed use, right, and flexibility for Town Madison. And I believe that was done in 2017, and this property was probably rezoned either at the end of 2017 or in 2018 is my recollection. So it had been part of the Intergraph mixed use, or excuse me, the Intergraph master plan. So all of the Intergraph campus had been zoned back in 2014, 2015 for mixed use, and this property and actually the Roberts property were part of that. And there was actually residential development anticipated for what's proposed for the Roberts. This property had been anticipated or hoped to be an office use. And Joey knows we've had a number of conversations, pre-pandemic. I was, hoping that we'd get an office use in this location because it's nice to have daytime population, and, the office market has completely changed now. And so, they've been looking at doing this apartment project there.
Mm-hmm. Didn't we also just rezone a property close to that to keep us from having, like, car washes and...
Yes. Yeah. Over by the hotels, we had some rezoning of some of the Town Madison property there as well.
Can Joey answer some questions about the current makeup of the residents at the station? I think when we last...
Choice as chair.
I'm sorry.
Yes, if you would like to allow that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure, since we don't...
Right.
What's considered discussion and not.
Right. So my question is, can you give us kind of a makeup of who lives in an apartment at the station?
Yeah, I can tell you what they've told us. Obviously,
Okay.
we do not own the station apartments, which is
I forgot.
I believe.
I forgot.
But we have been told multiple times by the leasing people there that there is either no children there that they're aware of in Madison City Schools. I think maybe when they first opened, there was one or two. But the last time we asked, which would have been probably 9 months ago, the answer again was that they have no children living there
At the station?
at the station.
They have 29 currently enrolled in Madison City Schools. I checked today.
Okay, so 29 out of 200-plus
It's a low ratio.
It's a low
I will
ratio.
grant you.
274.
That's...
Am I wrong on this vote, isn't if we like the project or not? Because I don't, I'm not but all we're saying is it meets the code. If we change gears on this and we said, hey, we're gonna take the place of the planning commission. So the planning commission just looks at and says, this technically meets what it's supposed to be done for. So I don't think anybody up here is voting for apartments, but I think that's not what we're being asked to do. We're asked to say, did this meet the technical review correctly?
You're correct.
So-
It's not if we like it. It's,
And there are times when we have voted on properties where it could technically meet the review, but we might have a development agreement that talks about phasing, for example. Or is there a development agreement being proposed with this?
No, there
When-
was a plan that was put in place at the beginning of Town Madison, and you can go back and read almost every press release that was done, and it always anticipated there would be 1,000 to 1,500 apartments in Town Madison. That has always been part of the master plan from the beginning, okay? This council did also rezone land immediately, the previous council rezoned land immediately across the street from this site from commercial to zoning to allow for another apartment complex, and that was only a few months ago. And at that time, I did stand up in front of the council and the planning commission to say, I'm not opposing that rezoning because yes, more people helps us, but I want you to make sure you know there is another apartments that are coming, several hundred units right across the street. And everybody said, well, that's fine too, we're ready to pass this rezoning, so.
Sure, that particular project you're talking about, though, has a component that's commercial as well as
1,000
residential.
square feet, I think, maybe?
So you have a mix
Mhm.
use. I mean, sorry, I know that's not the term of the
You know,
zoning.
we've got, over, 200,000 square feet of mixed use in ours, of retail, office, restaurants, okay? There's been over
In this
500
particular thing we're voting on tonight?
Yes, ma'am, at
In this
Town
plan?
Madison. $500 million worth of private investment at Town Madison.
No, I'm not talking about Town Madison, I'm talking about.
Yes, I know, but you're asking about a plan, and where was the plan from the beginning for Town Madison, and this follows that plan.
You're asking for just residential, right? This is what we're looking at?
Yes.
What is the time frame to bring both of these apartment complexes online? How quickly are you planning to build it?
I would imagine they will begin construction probably within the next 6 months. They typically take about a year to 18 months to build.
They're both coming online at the same time?
Yes, ma'am.
488 units,
Mhm.
residential units. I can go on. I've got a list of questions because I
I'll ask any-
I
I'll
want to
answer any of them that you
understand
have,
the
yeah.
concept of what we've got going on out there. We have no fire station out there.
Mm-hmm.
What is the response time in getting fire out to this apartment complex if something goes up?
That would be Chief having, yeah.
I do know, again, we have been working with the city to donate land for a fire station. Actually, it's very close to this site. So I do not know what the current response time would be for Madison Fire. But, I do know there is a station on Zert Road with a mutual aid agreement with Huntsville. But, yes, we have kind of looked at that as far as future, and we are working with the city to donate land and help with some of the cost of building a fire station in Town Madison.
It seems like with approving a project like this, the priority of getting a fire station built just goes up exponentially because you can't just keep packing density out there and
Again,
only
you're-
Huntsville can
you're not-
get to
You're
our
not
homes.
approving this project here tonight. Tonight, all you're doing is seeing if it meets the city's criteria. It's not a discretionary decision of saying, I don't like it or I like it, there is a fire station, there isn't a fire station. If there was something in your subdivision regulations that said there must be a fire station, then that's one thing, okay?
Has fire and police signed off on this? Didn't y'all sign off on this plan?
The fire department is part of our technical review committee, just like the utilities are, engineering. So when we're looking at site plans, again, we're looking at, is there turning radius for fire apparatus, all of those kinds of things. Occasionally, we'll have a project come through. This has happened in subdivisions, actually, where there might be concern about water pressure in certain parts of the city, not in this area. And in those cases, the fire department will raise that issue. We'll work with the developer to figure out how to improve that situation. We do have on the west side of the city, we have a desire to improve our response times, right? The fire department does. And they have, originally when Town Madison got started, the fire department didn't ask for a fire station in Town Madison. The fire department has now identified within the last year and a half or so that they would like to have a fire station in Town Madison. And so that is something, as Joey mentioned, that we were going to kind of work on. But, so I would say if, based upon our normal conversations with the fire department, if they got to a critical point, I think that they would have said something to us. But, obviously Chief can come up and speak to it, because usually his staff is looking at it at a more micro level.
Can we talk about drainage? Is there a retention pond on this property? What feeds into the retention pond?
Most of you before. Both sites have their own standalone retention pond. There's a major drainage way that comes down through the middle of that site. So we have a pond on each side. So just our site water goes into the pond and is released out into the drainage way there.
How does this project impact the retention pond that's out there right now?
There's no
retention pond for the apartments across the street either.
So where you're putting the apartments, it's just draining into the current existing retention pond, or?
So the pond that you and I discussed is on the other side. It's
next to the stadium.
Closer, yeah.
This is on the driving range side.
This is on the complete different side of the mountain.
Okay. So we're adequate on drainage.
We're adequate on draining, and I think, honestly, the question is, they have the right to develop that, right? It's no different than if they had an R2 subdivision and they wanted to come build houses. That we're simply just making the administrative move at this point. There's no discussion if they can build a house on an R2 lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's, does it meet the, I don't know, does it meet the setbacks? And our people were coming saying, yes, it meets the setbacks according to the site plan that they have submitted to us. So it is really just an administrative function at this point.
Okay. Can you tell me about these two particular apartment complexes? I've got some questions for both, and then I have a question for just the Roberts apartments that's, I guess, coming up next. Is there a security fence around the perimeter and gated access?
No.
What are the landscaping requirements for this? We have landscaping requirements for commercial projects. Is it similar?
They're a little bit different. We require that the perimeter around the street be landscaped, so all the landscaping standards are set forth in the zoning ordinance. And so there's a tree required for every 50 linear feet. And
Well, shrubs.
yes, and shrubs, and then the parking lots need to be landscaped. So, and the project does meet the landscaping requirements.
Okay, and then I saw that the site plan was submitted on November 17th. That was just Wednesday?
The site plan was actually submitted back in, I don't know, this one might have been back in July. So what happens so the date that's referenced is November 17th. So what happens is, they submit their initial submittal, we provide comments, then they have to correct those comments, okay? And, sometimes we have more extensive comments than in other projects, and this was one where we did have that. We did not want to bring it to you until we felt it was ready. And so the developers any applicant, this is not just Town Madison, but any applicant, they'll end up revising their plans. Our normal 30-day tech review cycle has the revised plan coming in literally 2 days before our staff reports go out. And so the staff reports that go out normally to the Planning Commission will reflect a fairly recent date because they're submitting in corrected plans. So what occurred here is they submitted a revised set of drawings addressing a few more of our comments on that date of the 17th. But we've been dealing with these plans for a while now. So you just are that's just reflecting the most recent set of plans.
Okay, so when you listed the contingencies that were normal, is it normal to have contingencies regarding ADA compliance?
Sometimes, yeah, and actually that item I think has already been addressed. So one of the things that happens is when we put out, this often happens with Planning Commission, is we'll put out the report with a certain amount of contingencies, and in between the time the report goes out and the actual meeting, the applicant will have addressed those contingencies. Because normally their goal is to have all the contingencies, or as many as they can, addressed by the time we get to hearing or within a couple of days of, or not hearing, but the Planning Commission meeting, because then we're going to submit circulate the plans around for signature. So there were a number of cleanup things on this, and we actually had a meeting with Mr. Mullins back there going over some of our comments about 2 weeks ago, and we're looking at plans. He's like, well, let's do this, I mean, they're like little tweaks in a parking lot. And so it generates comments. Again, we, and Mr. Mullins can testify to this. We're very thorough in our review, and we would not have brought this here unless we thought the comments were pretty minimal to deal with. And it's very common that we'll have contingencies on plans. So.
Okay. And we're just taking villas first, right? Roberts is second. All right. Those are my questions for villas.
Any other questions for me?
Thank you.
Thanks, Joy.
We still need a second to discuss and vote on it, or?
Second.
Motion is second. Is there any other discussion?
Just sitting here, we're used to deliberating, and this isn't something to be deliberated because it's
administrative.
Because of what
Yeah.
a past president has done to change it here. Instead of in the Planning Commission where they would have done this, you've put it here. And I think all of us are just reacting to, we were elected to deliberate.
We're going to push it back to the
look at
Planning
all
Commission.
different.
I mean, site approval, why are we doing site plans?
We're not going to again.
Yeah, it's
We're
a great,
going to push it back.
yeah.
We shouldn't be doing this.
It's a great point. And it's,
But they're saying behind you too, Karen.
yeah, that's.
They're
yeah.
echoing what you just said.
I think
Yeah,
we're all in
we're gonna push
agreement
this.
on
We're gonna-
that.
we're
It's a
gonna send
great
this
point,
back.
and not
We
that
don't need to be
we
doing this.
don't enjoy
Right.
bringing projects to y'all, but we'd love for it to go back to the Planning Commission.
Right.
We're going to make that happen.
It makes
Yes,
me
I think
feel
that would
better
be
to have,
in the best interest.
Real quick, guys, before we push this back to the planning committee, we need to understand why, why it was done this way in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
We did that because at that point, that means it went straight to planning, and you never saw it. You never got a vote on it. You never got to look at it. I mean, and if you didn't go to planning committee, you didn't know about it. That's why that got pushed here, right? So that we at least got the information if we weren't doing our homework and not going to the planning meetings. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, there's a couple that I didn't attend, and there's a couple that I haven't attended. So had it not been like it is now, we never would have heard about it.
But I think, but to Councilmember Dunsine's point, it results in a very, you didn't use these words, but my words are, it results in, it's a very misleading and confusing to you all, because it's not a discretionary item, it's an administrative item. It's, Megan and I have even talked, it's very strange even that the city zoning ordinance has a site plan coming to a discretionary body, because it's not a discretionary item. And so we're going to investigate that a little bit more. And my understanding in talking with staff who've been here for a long time is the city put that into the zoning ordinance some time ago, basically to, you know, try and exert influence on plans. And that's just not really how the law is set up in Alabama. So I do think it's a little strange for it to come to you. I will say that when projects would come to you, an apartment project, for example, and the Navarre Project that Councilmember Bartlett mentioned is a great example, we had a development agreement because they wanted a zone change. And so, and even the Sealy project, which, you know, did go through zoning, it was pre-growth policy, but the Sealy project, we had a development agreement with that. That came to the council. So where we have projects that have a discretionary component, like a zone change or a development agreement, which is a, you know, a mutual contract, you're going to see that. It's when we have projects that comply with the zoning, right, where those would not normally come to you. And we certainly, you know, I mean, we try to keep people informed about what's going forward. We can certainly work on that if that's necessary. I mean, you know, the Planning Commission agendas are published and all of that. We could certainly report out more. But you do see some. It's just the ones that, where we literally have to check the box, where you wouldn't see those. And there are site plans that we have to support as staff that we don't like either, but we just, you know, we don't have that choice.
Let me ask you this. If, for example, if we were to push this back to the Planning Commission, since it is just an administrative process, basically, check the box. There's no discretion. Would it be possible for us to then, when the site plans are approved by the Planning Commission, have you give us an update at the council meetings?
Oh, certainly. And a lot of times, your Planning Commission liaison, who's, you know, Councilmember Seifert, he'll mention, you know, Planning Commission did X, Y, and Z. But yes, happy to do that, of course.
That would be very helpful. And I think my thought was just knowing as much information as we can. We understand now what our role is in this particular project, but moving forward, if we can have more notice and be more involved in making the final decision on anything like this or a major expenditure, major construction project, I think we were just caught off guard.
Yeah, and again, I was planning on the work session, the schedule changed, and I, you know, to Joy's point, and that was a while ago, but, you know, we've talked about these apartment projects, some of, in a general sense, off and on, and so I think we live and breathe it all the time and don't necessarily realize that it hasn't been communicated to you.
Exactly.
So sorry about that.
I'm very reassured about the 274 units with 29 students. That, to me, speaks volumes about this project.
Yeah.
But definitely the Friday for a Monday vote is not.
Yeah, and that was,
good.
and again, I was expecting the report to have gone out on Wednesday, and but still not as much time as you might like, but it did get delayed, so.
Yeah, I don't know what everybody else's plans were, but I was out of town on Friday, so, you know, that gives us very limited amount of time to ask questions, and I don't feel like it is an appropriate amount of time for us to be able to review and even on an administrative level, approve something or vote on something.
Yeah, and the only reason that we would have even attempted to ask you, you know, putting it on the agenda, is because it was administrative. If there had been a development agreement associated with it or a zoning change, you know, I wouldn't have pushed it. We've got limited staff.
Message heard loud and clear.
It is.
Say that. We hear you. And, I mean, obviously everybody had a different perspective of the
My fault.
significance of getting you information earlier, so we hear you loud and clear.
Thank you.
I understand.
We heard you this way too, if I look that way. Okay, yeah.
Yes, sir.
I would like to thank Renee for asking the questions because it did bring out a lot of information to all the people that are sitting here. We all have a greater understanding now, and I think that was probably the emphasis originally for bringing this way, but yeah, we're deliberative. So, but thank you, Renee.
And the reason we don't have a development agreement with either of these properties is
Because there's no zone change. So, you know, as you know, development agreements are a mutual contract, right? We can't require a development agreement of anybody. We don't even have any language in our zoning ordinance about development agreements. And so the 6 development agreements that we've had come forward on projects have been based upon, I guess, mutual benefits, right? And where the developers have, you know, wanted them, the development agreements, to give them some assurances about what they're going to be able to do. And, you know, the city may be participating in terms of public infrastructure. In these cases, both of these projects, you know, we don't have any infrastructure that we're being asked to provide. The developer has already basically done the roads around in town Madison, and the zoning is in place. And so there's no, I would say, compelling reason or way for us to require a development agreement. And if we look at, you know, what we accomplish with development agreements, some of the things that we accomplish is getting infrastructure improvements. Again, those are done, sometimes phasing usually for phasing, but that's for single family. And for an apartment project, it's generally a little harder to phase projects. Now, both of these have multiple buildings, so you could phase them, but it's unusual to phase an apartment project, frankly. So again, when we look at the things that we would get with a DA, it just didn't seem to lend itself to either of these, and the developer didn't suggest one either.
Are they different developers for each one?
I believe that they are, and Joey or Jeff could speak to that.
Any other questions or discussion?
Not on this one, I do on Roberts.
Going to ask for the vote, please.
Councilmember Powell.
Aye.
Councilmember Robleski.
Aye.
Council President Shaw.
Aye.
Councilmember Spears.
Aye.
Councilmember Bartlett.
Aye.
Councilmember Denzine.
Aye.
Councilmember Seifert.
Motion passes.
The next item is forthcoming, maybe. Excuse me, Jason? Did I turn this off? No, it's on. There we go. The next item is another apartment project. This is the Roberts. It's right east of the property we were just discussing. It is 16 acres. It is also zoned UC, which is the Urban Center District. This is the site plan. This is 284 units. They have 2-story and 4-story buildings in this design. It's a little bit different, but a similar ratio in terms of the bedroom count. A little bit more, 3 bedrooms, 15% of them. They also have the open space amenities and walking paths and so forth. This is the 2-story product. I don't have any elevations or conceptual elevations of the 2-story product, but this is the 4-story product. In terms of the contingencies, again, they have to submit a copy of the plat. We've asked them to correct some of the notation about the heights of the buildings on the plans, and then engineering has a number of contingencies as well. And we are recommending approval of this as well for the same reasons that were articulated in terms of it supporting commercial development in town Madison. They have minimized the larger unit sizes. It does meet our requirements. And we are recommending that you approve this apartment project as well. And you have Resolution 360-R.
Move to approve.
Motion and a second. We start the discussion.
You want me to start?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I got a question about the staff report that describes the project request as there will be 6 4-story buildings and 10 2-story buildings, as well as a single-story clubhouse. Now, when I apologize, I'm not on the planning commission, so this is, I think, the first site plan I've ever had to look at. So I looked at the site plan and I blew up the internal box on the site plan. And in the internal box where you do the ratio calculation of the square footage, in the breakdown for building 1, building 2 and 5, building 3 and 6, and building 7, you're multiplying the square footage by 3, as if there's 3 stories. I was expecting to see 4.
Yeah.
So what's going on?
So the planning contingency note that I had about the height, it's because of that. And so, I don't know, Jeff, do you have your answer on that?
You didn't think I'd read the plan, did you? I know.
Great detail. I know to be more prepared next time.
Well, y'all just need to stop sending this stuff to us, 'cause, I mean, I'm gonna read it if you send it to me.
That was our screw up. It is 4 stories. The major buildings are 4 stories, and the smaller ones are more the carriage style apartment buildings.
So in the corrected plan that you will submit for the contingency, you're gonna be multiplying this times 4?
Correct.
So, Mary Beth, how does that impact the overall ratio that I'm looking at? This project is far more dense than the previous one. This one gives me much more pause in terms of what y'all are doing and what you're negotiating, or why we don't have a development agreement, or why we don't have phasing, because this thing's just about to throw 300 people at us. So so tell me what this means in terms of how it affects the ratio.
Well, I'm not sure what ratio you're referring to, but parking is based upon, so the square footage is kind of irrelevant for the site plan analysis that comes into play when they're getting their building permits and how much it's going to cost for the building permit. But in the parking ratios, or the amount of parking, is based upon the number of units and the bedroom count. So that is irrelevant of square footage. So you could have a 2,000 square foot 2-bedroom unit, or you could have a 1,000 square foot 2-bedroom unit. They're going to require the same amount of parking. So our comment, our contingency comment related to the stories is because we saw that they had a number 3 there and it should have been a number 4. And so they need to clean that up, but it doesn't change the parking, and they're fine with that. I mean, they meet parking requirements.
It seemed kind of tight. It didn't seem like there was a lot of parking.
Well, they have some garage parking, and then there is the surface parking, but they do meet our parking requirements. And it is a denser project, and you know, we don't solicit these projects, and we do try to we work to get changes on the project. Sometimes the unit counts go down as we've been working on the projects and changing the open space, for changing open space or getting parking improvements and things like that. We haven't had this plan for as long. I mean, they were able to work on this plan a little bit more quickly, and it didn't have as many problems. But I don't know. Jeff can testify that we're not we just don't pass it through, I guess. We really try to get the plans as clean as possible, and we understand the concerns about units and density. One of the things I will comment is we do not have a maximum density in our UC district, and we did that intentionally when we were creating the district to give some flexibility, because you could have a dense residential project that uses space more efficiently and leaves, you know, more space for commercial development or more space for open space, rather than having, let's say, all 2-story apartment units which don't use space very efficiently. You get lower density, but do you really end up having the creating the kind of place you want. And at the very beginning of trying to get Town Madison going, we were trying to build in as much flexibility as possible. So really, one of the few standards that we have on residential is we cap them no more than 5 stories. Residential units can't exceed 5 stories, and of course, they have to meet parking. And we've talked to staff, now that Town Madison has kind of got its legs under it and it's sort of going, although we've got some more work to do post-pandemic, whether or not we would want to go back in and put in a density cap in there. And so we may do that with the update of the zoning ordinance.
Maybe that'll come up in our comprehensive plan discussions.
It may.
Okay,
Yeah.
and is there any green space in here at all?
There is. Unfortunately, I don't have a colored exhibit, but let me see if I can point up here for you. So this is their pool. This is a clubhouse and a grill. All of this is open space here, and they have, trying to see, there's open space, well, that's the parking lot, but behind all of these units, and then, do you want to talk about the pedestrian bridge?
Yeah, we have a massive open space there.
Hey, Jeff, can you get it to the microphone, please, where they, if you don't mind?
Yes, the dashed area on the plan, that's basically open space. That's where we.
What area, can you point to it so I can?
This area here. And then
That is
also-
all open?
Yes, ma'am. All this area is open. That's all green spaced. Part of it, this lower half is detention pond, but it's dry detention pond. It can be used for a dog park, whatever you want. Then also to be known, you probably all know the ditch that runs through the center of the property. There are a massive amount of utilities on both sides of the ditch. So the plan that was just approved, it actually sits all the way over here. So in reality, when you're riding through the two projects, you'll see probably a 300-foot space there of open space. It's probably about 800 feet long. This entire area will remain as open space. One, because of the ditch it runs through, and then, like I say, all of Madison's utilities, the Madison's trunk line comes down this ditch line and heads to the south.
So is the
land in front of the apartment across the street, all this will remain green and open.
So are you developing anything there? I mean, in terms of the green space or making it suitable?
We've got walking trails. We plan to connect the two projects together.
Oh, the two, the
Yes,
one we just voted on and this one? I was gonna ask about the
Pedestrian
connectivity.
Bridge. And as you know, we've got plans to extend greenways up this ditch line and then further to the south that could connect down to subdivisions there at Island at the Reserve there on the south side of Dunlop Boulevard. So we have a lot of planned amenities as far as green space.
But we don't have a development agreement that requires the developer to help us with the green space or the dog park or the. So. Okay, so they may not develop anything there that we can use.
Well, it would be theirs to develop, but we could always say it'd be a perfect location for a dog park and gazebos and things like that.
I mean, we've spent a lot extending the greenway up past the stadium thus far. It's going to be extended up over the hill on, the sidewalk. The city came to us, and although it wasn't a requirement, asked us, hey, can we do a 10-foot sidewalk? And we have complied. I mean, I think the developer, I'm just the engineer, but I believe the developers in town Madison are interested in creating a good walkable community and a lot of green space.
Okay, I've got one more question for Joey. Earlier, you had mentioned that you were working with the city about donating land for a fire station?
Yes.
You mean that hasn't already been done?
We made the commitment a long time ago to give land for the fire department, and at one time, there was some talk about a police station as well.
Substation connected with that?
Right, it was then decided fairly early that they didn't necessarily want an entire substation for the police. What they really were looking for maybe in that one of the multi-tenant buildings, that they have some space within the retail area there adjacent to the stadium to where they could have an office and not necessarily their own building. So we've always had that commitment to provide that space. Really over in the last 6 months, I think, in discussions with the city, that they've kind of come back and said, okay, it's time to start that planning process. Where would you want to do this? And so I think we now have kind of reached a mutual agreement on the actual piece of land that they would want.
For the fire station?
Fire station, yeah.
So we just have a verbal right now?
Yes, ma'am.
We don't actually have any land?
No, ma'am.
Well, why aren't we negotiating that in this?
Well, and Steve Smith is here, and he's, go
Let me,
ahead.
again, I think your questions all center around negotiations as part of a development agreement and why there isn't one. There are never any development agreements anywheres on land that a private individual owns that they're using in a way that meets all the rules and criteria required by the city. Typically, a development agreement comes into place under two circumstances, okay? One, either there's a rezoning and somebody says, look, if you will rezone this, here's all these other things that we will do, okay? Just like in the case of the school land being sold with the Halsey property, okay? The other one is where, say in the case of maybe Sealy, look, I'm going to come do this, but I'm going to need some city help here. I need you to help me with utilities, move the substation across the street, whatever that might be. I need you to spend money on things that might benefit my project. And in that case, there is a development agreement. There is no development agreement ever on anything that's, again, where a landowner is using their land in accordance with Alabama law, the subdivision regulations of the city of Madison, et cetera. So
Right,
that's where that is.
but why isn't it in your interest to firm up and give us the land so we
It
can?
is in our interest, and believe me, we got a lot of things going, okay? And we are committed to giving the land, and we will give the land. But it's not part of this negotiation over approving this project.
Hey, while you're there, do you have a list of anything that's closed lately, that is business-wise? Just, I know, I didn't know we were going to talk to Town
And
Madison.
again, and this is one issue too, because I came to Planning Commission last week just for this reason, because we had the hub plans there for approval. In the past, the Planning Commission said, we don't ever see anything. Well, they don't see anything that's under 10,000 square feet, so any restaurant that comes in doesn't really go to the Planning Commission for site plan approval. So, but yes, there's currently you've got 9 current businesses that are open at Town Madison. We've got under construction another 14. Of those, I'm counting Outback and I Love Sushi, both of which will open in December. So you've got 14 businesses and restaurants under construction. We've got 3 in the permitting phase, which basically means plans have been submitted to the city, and they're either waiting on building permits or they're waiting on site plan approvals. And then we've got another 8 that are currently closed deals that are in design phase that will be getting submitted. Actually, about half of them will be getting submitted to the Planning Commission within the month of December.
Thanks.
I can run through some lists if you want lists.
I just want to get an idea of it.
Yeah. So, and again, many of these are new to Madison, and a lot of these actually are new to even new to North Alabama.
What's the total acreage on that entire development?
Ours, I believe, is 530 acres. The Town Madison Cooperative District also includes the driving range and the Intergraph, what remains of the Intergraph campus in the city of Madison. So altogether, I think it gets up over 600 acres, but our acreage is 530 acres, or close to it. Jeff could probably correct me.
Okay. And how many of the acreage at this point are covered with houses and/or apartments?
I don't know the answer to that question. So, again, you can see.
Estimate.
I have no idea. I mean, I wouldn't even care to guess. And again, we really haven't even started on like anything. Again, on top of the hill and kind of over the hill. We actually have done a new deal with a hotel that's kind of right on the side of the hill over across from the stadium. But the rest of it is still, even that whole section, which is, I don't know how many acres, it's got to be 40 acres, 50 acres, is still in a kind of a design phase.
I know there wasn't a planned development agreement because this started, before I was even on council the last time.
Right.
Do you have any idea what the makeup will be of residential and commercial?
Again, as far as percentage of acres, I don't know. Again, I can tell you, again, we're hitting what we stated as far as our goals at the beginning of this, which was number of square feet of commercial businesses, even in as Mary Beth mentioned, a pandemic. I think we said 1,000 hotel rooms without the possible hotel in center field. We're at 661 hotel rooms in either deals that are under construction or a signed deal, with the one case being the sixth hotel. 5 hotels, 3 currently open, and 2 going to be under construction. So,
Thank you.
I have a quick question. I don't know if it's answerable or not, but you've talked about all this new development that's coming on. At what point do we reach the tipping point that we do need a fire station, that we do need the police presence there?
Again, that's a question for the city or fire. Again, we've always talked about having that in the plan. I would imagine, as far as the police, my bet is, now that you've got the stadium open, you're going to have the hub and probably 11 restaurants, 12 restaurants open by the time you get into the second month of the baseball season, that it's, probably time to start asking the police where they want to be as far as in one of these buildings. But that's certainly not a problem and can be accommodated fairly quickly. Obviously, it takes a little more time to plan and build a fire station. So.
Right. I guess I'm with Renee. The sooner we start those plans, the happier.
Yeah. The police space, as Joey mentioned, I've been kind of waiting for a commercial building to come along that has multiple tenants in it. So right now, what we've been seeing are standalone pad buildings, right? The Outback. I mean, I Love Sushi has got multiple tenants in it, but it's kind of on the periphery. And really, I've been looking for a multi-tenant building to come in on Stadium Way, which would be kind of in between Zerot Road and the stadium. And so oftentimes you'll see, lease space, right, as part of a strip. But, it just hasn't happened yet, but hopefully we'll get there. Yeah. With respect to the fire station, Steve Smith in the city, in the mayor's office, has been the one having the conversations about that. But our most recent conversations have been putting the fire station on city-owned land off of Town Madison Boulevard. The developer has suggested some property that they own, and I don't know if you want Steve to come up and speak to that, but I think we've been looking at trying to put it on land that we already own. We haven't gotten into any kind of feasibility studies that I'm aware of. And Steve has been having other conversations with the developer about how they can participate in that project. So I think we would like to advance it, as we can, and we're aware that that would help the fire department out in terms of their response time.
Safety issue.
I'm sorry?
It's just a safety issue.
We understand it. We look for every opportunity we can to get public infrastructure to benefit this community.
I have a question on a slightly different subject. The Navarre Project is north of this, correct?
Yes.
And that has a tie-in to the Singing River Trail.
Yes.
And so...
Let me just go, there's an aerial for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So will this greenways and these walkability trails also link into that?
So, Jeff Mullins mentioned this, when the Singing River Trail came about, I reached out to Mr. Breland to talk about how we could have that pathway come through Town Madison, and he and I walked sidewalk, and he agreed to widen the sidewalk within the project, and that was something they'd already built some of the sidewalk they didn't need to do, so we were very appreciative of that. And so what's going to happen on this side is you've got the hill, this is the hill.
Mm-hmm.
So as Jeff mentioned, they've already done the sidewalk up to the stadium. They're going to bring it, the wider sidewalk over the hill. It will be on this side of the road. So when we negotiated the Navarre project, knowing where that path was going to be, that's why we required the developer to do a wider sidewalk on their project and also contribute money towards the finishing the path here. What we didn't want to have happen is people on one side of the road and then having to go on to the other side for the wider path. This project, per the city's requirements, will have sidewalks, both of these projects. So there will be sidewalks on Lime Quarry Road, on Intergraph, and on Dunlop here. And
So yes, it will have time.
those will be regular width sidewalks, the 5-foot wide sidewalk, but somebody'd be able to cross over, and so there will be that connectivity.
Okay, that was what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Any other questions, discussion? All right, can I get the vote, please?
Councilmember Roblesky.
Aye.
Councilmember Powell.
Aye.
Council President Shaw.
Aye.
Councilmember Spears.
Aye.
Councilmember Bartlett.
Nay.
Councilmember Denzine.
Aye.
Councilmember Seifert.
And motion passes.
Your next item is proposed ordinance 2021-314, and this is for vacation of a portion of utility and drainage easement within the 3 Park Preserve subdivision. You had your first reading at your last meeting. You can see here the utility easement. It's been, the area needed for the utility easement has been relocated as part of the subdivision design. This portion is no longer needed, so we're asking for your approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Can I get the vote, please?
Councilmember Powell.
Aye.
Councilmember Spears.
Aye.
Council President Shaw.
Aye.
Councilmember Roblesky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bartlett.
Aye.
Councilmember Denzine.
Aye.
Councilmember Seifert.
Motion passes.
Your next item is proposed ordinance 2021-335. This is for vacation of a portion of a right-of-way within Business Park, the Business Park subdivision. And you can see from this aerial here, this is the area in question, the portion of the right-of-way. This is the blow-up of it. So Business Park Boulevard exists right here, improved. It provides parking or access into the parking lot spot, and this is the Hexagon building here. So we'll still maintain the right-of-way that we think is necessary to provide access into Hexagon and to the office buildings to the south. The area that they're requesting to be vacated, we don't foresee the need for that as a roadway. They are planning on doing a utility project there, and we are recommending approval of that.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Is there any discussion? Can I get the vote, please?
Councilmember Powell.
Aye.
Councilmember Spears.
Aye.
Council President Shaw.
Aye.
Councilmember Roblesky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bartlett.
Aye.
Councilmember Denzine.
Aye.
Councilmember Seifert.
And motion passes.
And the last planning item is for a proposed ordinance 2021-359, and this is to vacate a portion of utility easement. You can see the dark square there in the exhibit. And this is for Outback, the new Outback restaurant on Zierdt Road, for their monument sign. I would like to ask you to suspend the rules tonight, if you would. They are hoping to open at the beginning of December. We'd like to be able to facilitate them getting all of their signage complete. And so if you do want to suspend the rules, you need to vote on that and then vote on the ordinance itself. Everybody has signed off on this, all the utilities and so forth, and we are recommending approval.
Can I get
Move
a
to
motion
suspend.
I'm sorry.
Move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Motion in 2 seconds. Is there any discussion? Can I get the vote, please?
Councilmember Spears.
Aye.
Councilmember Bartlett.
Aye.
Council President Shaw.
Aye.
Councilmember Roblesky.
Aye.
Councilmember Powell.
Aye.
Councilmember Denzine.
Aye.
Councilmember Seifert.
Motion passes. Now, a motion for the ordinance.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Connie had a second.
She, first and second.
Motion. Is there any discussion? Can I get the vote, please?
Councilmember Bartlett.
Aye.
Councilmember Spears.
Aye.
Council President Shaw.
Aye.
Councilmember Roblesky.
Aye.
Councilmember Powell.
Aye.
Councilmember Denzine.
Aye.
Councilmember Seifert.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
And Cameron's back up again.
Been a while since we saw him.
You're my favorite person tonight.
Yes, glad to have you back.
Okay, one item tonight, it's the second reading on this ordinance. It would, it's necessary for the city to participate in the Severe Weather Preparedness Tax Holiday, February 25th through the 27th of 2022, and also it would make it permanent for the last full weekend of February and subsequent years.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Can I get the vote, please?
Councilmember Robleski,
Aye.
Councilmember Powell,
Aye.
Council President Shaw,
Aye.
Councilmember Spears,
Aye.
Councilmember Bartlett,
Aye.
Councilmember Denzine, Councilmember Seifert.
Motion passes. Thank you, Cameron. Is there any miscellaneous business or announcements? Motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
The work session here or the other room?
Well, do we want to move the tables and just have it right here?
Fine with me, I'm just asking.
Do we want to move the food, or you want to go eat? Huh?
Oh, yeah. Buy that property, and Pam Hudson held on to it.